Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Stanzik, by the way, is going crazy behind the glass. Telling you that now.
Taking off his
Holy
clothes.
Mackerel.
Headbanging.
He is headbanging on a Tuesday morning.
Vibing.
We've got problems. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. We are rolling into the NBA playoffs in full swing now. Boston looked great against the Sixers again. But before we get into anything else, I have a beef with Mike Golic Jr.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have a beef.
Me. Okay, good.
Now, how can I have a beef with you?
You found a way.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm listening, driving in as I am listening to First and Last.
What we can steal off his show.
Correct, which is what we do because that's the way it's going to be.
Right.
That's essentially how it's going to happen. But he gets into this entire rant about next-gen stats and how we are two old men shaking our fists
on the porch
at the young skateboarders going by and disrupting our lawn.
I heard it.
And I just have to say, you're wrong. You're wrong. Because what was the stat you were yapping about today?
Oh, I cannot believe you're going down this road.
Yeah, what was the stat you were yapping about today?
Go ahead.
So it was Carmelo Anthony. It was about mileage in the NBA regular season. So this was mileage for players that played at least 30 minutes a game.
Right. Yes.
Over the course of at least 41 games in the regular season. And Carmelo Anthony traveled the shortest distance of any of those qualifying players, 2.01 miles during the regular season.
That makes all the sense in the world.
I love that stat.
That stat is perfect.
I love that stat.
It makes actual sense.
Yes, it does.
It's basically saying he's the anti-Rick Ross. He's not hustling.
He hangs out.
He's just standing
and
around.
You broke it down for on defense and offense as well, right?
Yeah.
That stat is easy, understandable, makes
stat.
perfect sense.
Absolutely.
How many dribbles someone takes, I could not care less.
By the way, James Harden averages 8.2 dribbles.
Very important.
That's ridiculous.
Yes, that's insane.
That
stat is perfect. It tells you he's not hustling.
Oh, I'm so glad you said it.
Hey, dap it up.
And by the way, we have not discussed this, Mike.
Not at all.
But when I was driving in and heard you talking about it, I said, wait a minute. I said, I actually like that stat.
That makes all the sense in the world.
Lets you know how much a guy actually does move, or in this case,
does not move.
The stat was terrible anyway. So who really cares?
Stick that in your vape pen and
vape it.
Whatever you kids do.
Get
off my lawn!
That stat made all the sense in the world. It's basically saying he's not hustling.
Yeah.
I mean, all the dribbling stat would basically be saying is that someone's holding the ball or bringing it up the court more, and you guys don't appreciate that context.
It's a stupid stat.
It's a stupid stat. It makes no sense. How does the percentage of dribbling apply to a win and a loss?
Yeah, it's exactly right. And by the way, you never in your first and last show there never brought up the dribble stat. You were very gung ho on this stat.
Yeah.
And thinking we were going to hate it. We liked it. You
love that stat.
The dribble stat was old. This stat was new.
But when the dribble stat came out, you didn't bring it up on your show. You didn't make it like that was a very cool or very meaningful stat.
Well, look at it like this. The dribble stat was old like you guys. This new stat about distance was young like me, and so it got the center stage.
We've thrown you, haven't we, by agreeing with the stat? We like
this stat. No, you guys have just reminded me that you're inconsistent.
No,
that's all you guys have reminded me of is that you're inconsistent.
When things are real and quantifiable, they make sense. But the mythical unicorn war stat is the stupidest thing of all time. This mythical creature that doesn't exist, we're this much better than that. No, it makes no sense at all.
I just don't understand how you guys don't understand what a mean is, like the mean of something and how that works.
How are you saying we don't understand that?
Because that's what war is. It's the aggregate. It's the mean of what a player's supposed to be in the league.
Exactly. And where does that mean come from?
That mean comes from taking the aggregate of all of the other players around the average
so
of that
it's actually
position.
Not a player. It's just a bunch of numbers.
It's all the players. It's a collective of players. It's the mean. Yeah. I don't understand how that's difficult.
It isn't difficult. It just is a stupid stat. It's a stupid stat.
This went down the road now of Mike's yelling. Everybody, can't we talk about the big three of Gordon Hayward, Kyrie Irving, and Al Horford?
We will in a minute.
How well they're doing.
Listen, Al Horford's my MVP. Right?
We will in a minute. By the way, guest coming up today, Lorenzo Alexander of the Buffalo Bills. We'll talk to him about Josh Allen and the controversy around his tweets before he was selected. The Bills moved up to get him. We'll hear what he has to say about that. Kara Lawson will join us at 7:30. Our fine NBA analyst. We'll ask her everything about sports because she knows everything about sports since she called the game last night on ESPN Radio between the Sixers and the Celtics. Michael Kay will join us at 8 o'clock. Carlos Boozer will join us at 8:30 Eastern. And Saquon Barkley, second overall pick and the best player in the draft, will join us at 9:30 Eastern. Now that we've gotten that all off and Mike Jr. is a moron, we'll start going.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start with Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Semis. The Celtics beat the Sixers 117-101. And really, Boston never really let Philadelphia in this game, Mike.
They really didn't. And obviously, my joking around at the beginning of the season, when you talk about the big three for Boston, it was supposed to be Gordon Hayward, Kyrie Irving, and Al Horford. And now it's Jason Tatum, Terry Rozier, and Al Horford.
Why wouldn't it be?
Are you kidding me? 83 points between the three of those guys. That it's incredible. It's that's more than the big three that won with Ray Allen and Pierce
Kevin Garnett
and Garnett ever scored. This is a big three. It's amazing. I know you've apologized to Al Horford. Rozier has been out of his mind, but I'm with you. At 31 years old, what Horford is doing now matched up with Joel Embiid has been unbelievably impressive. Brad Stevens, a great job of coaching. They just keep losing player after player as Brown doesn't play in this game with the hamstring, and they just keep winning.
It's amazing, and I had to eat a lot of crow because around the All-Star break, I was here with you guys and made fun of the fact that I thought that Al Horford was probably the last pick when we were doing the non-televised All-Star game draft, and all he's done is respond by, in this playoffs, going out and giving very old man-style buckets to Giannis Antetokounmpo in the first series against the Bucks, and now Joel Embiid last night. Joel Embiid specifically referenced him after the game.
Well, he should have. As for Rozier, 29 points, plus 17 when he was on the floor, to go along with 8 boards and a couple of six assists. Terry Rozier brimming with confidence. Confidence theme is brought to you by National Mortgage Lender Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently, and clearly people are confident in Terry Rozier. We'll get into a little bit more about what he's continuing to do, by the way, pregame, which is also very good. But Terry Rozier and the Celtics cruising in Game 1.
Off the top.
Meanwhile, Game 1 tonight between the Cavs and the Raptors. It's in Toronto, Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern. LeBron James 2-11 in his careers in Game 1s on the road, but his teams have won 6 straight games against the Raptors in the postseason.
Not just 2-11 in Game 1s on the road, but outscored by 125 points in those 13 games. I am willing to bet a significant amount of both your guys' money that Toronto wins this game tonight. And by the way, Trey,
please be comfortable with my money.
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
And Trey, you said it. If Toronto doesn't win this game tonight at home in Game 1 after coming off that Game 7 that Cleveland did with LeBron being exhausted for all the time that he played and doing everything, it would be stunning to me if Toronto doesn't take a 1-0 lead in this series.
Everything points to that. Yeah. Every statistical reason, the Cavaliers' continued horrific defense, all of it. But sports rarely makes sense, and for that reason, I feel like the Cavs could very easily steal Game 1 now. It just seems like a spot where it's so wrong that it has to be right.
I'm with you, but I just sense that game where Toronto builds that lead, and at some point in the third quarter, maybe the beginning of the fourth quarter, the Cavs just say, okay, you got Game 1, all good.
Right.
We're going to continue to take some minutes away from especially LeBron, let him rest a little more, and we'll see a Game 2 because all we need is a split. That's what you want to do, the 2 games on the road, and we'll make sure that happens in Game 2.
I was about to say, if this gets out of hand early, expect it to be out of hand for the entire game.
Exactly right.
I mean, they're not going to expend a great deal of energy trying to get back from a 20-point deficit.
They may
midway
try
through the
a run,
quarter.
they may try one, but when it fails, they're going to say, okay, we're good.
Yeah, no Game 7 max effort LeBron tonight.
He's not playing 43 and a half minutes. No way, no chance,
not
no how. But you're right. If for whatever reason Toronto doesn't win tonight, then you get the feeling they are never going to beat the Cavs in the postseason.
Off the top.
Well, having not played since March 23rd with a grade 2 MCL sprain, Steph Curry officially listed as probable for Tuesday's Game 2 against the Pelicans. The Warriors are 41-10 with him in the lineup, 22-15 without him. That includes some postseason games.
So, May 9, 2016 comes back from an MCL, drops 40. December 30th, 2017, misses 11 games, come back from an ankle, drops 38. So, I mean, it's not like he has to kick off any rust. I think a bigger question that we may get to is, should he come back tonight, or why would you bring him back? And from a matchup standpoint, look for Rajon Rondo to possibly be that guy, that's going to try and match up against him if he does come back.
Yeah, and just important from the sense of, I think, getting him back and starting to get acclimated now.
Yeah. But as I just said with those stats, it almost looks like he doesn't need to get acclimated. He's unbelievable coming back.
We've seen, this is another one of those areas where experience matters, and Steph has experience coming back in this area, both in the regular season and in the postseason, so something he's more than well-versed in.
And I think the other thing that needs to be understood here is it's not just his points. It's what he does that allows everyone else to get their points when he's in the lineup. I mean, he brings an energy. Remember that great clip that Steve Kerr was showing him one time when Steph wasn't shooting well, and he said, "Look at this. When you're on the when you're on the floor, look at the plus minus, and look when you're off the floor." He's an actuator of that offense. He's the one that draws all the attention, which allows Klay to get those threes, which allows Kevin Durant to have those drives to the bucket, which allows Draymond Green to be a force inside. He makes everything else work. So he doesn't actually have to be filling up the stat sheet in terms of points. Him being on the floor and the way he can move, which is why the knee injury will be something really interesting to watch in this game should he play, is what really makes everything else work for Golden State. I've stunned you both into silence.
Yes, you have.
Thank you very much. I can't do any better than that.
No.
America, their silence is my gift to you. And we continue with...
Off the top.
There we go.
Really good job by us paying strong attention.
Yeah, it was a solid work.
I just figured you were moving on to the next thing. It's time to talk hockey.
Clown show. All right, the Golden Knights. Let's do that. What did you say? You wanted to do what?
Talk hockey.
As they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
There you go. We're doing that hockey. And no one's doing the hockey better than the Golden Knights. Beat the Sharks 4-3 in overtime to take a 2-1 series lead. Vegas was the sixth team this postseason to hold a 2-goal lead and allow the opponent to tie the game.
Yeah, but they won this one. Everybody else lost it when they did it. They scored 3 goals in a short span of time in the second period. 2-goal lead, as you mentioned. Let the Sharks come back in and go to overtime. William Karlsson gets the overtime goal. He and Riley Smith are the second set of teammates in NHL history to have a point streak of 5 or more games in their team's first Stanley Cup playoff appearances. So they just continue to get it done. It's been a wild series. First game when they scored 7. Second game they give up 4 goals when the Sharks evened it up. And now this game going to overtime. Yep. Obviously, this is the one you like to see. You love seeing overtime hockey in playoffs. So another big win for them.
I was thinking about it earlier today. It has to be such a strange feeling for Nashville Predators fans right now as they continue to pour beer into Catfish and be entertaining in all those ways. But they were the big upstart story of last year's playoffs, and it's amazing how quickly they've been replaced by what's going on in Las Vegas. Now, it seems like there's space where both can maybe coexist, but good on hockey to have in 2 consecutive years 2 teams show up in places.
Did you just say good on hockey?
Good on hockey.
Good on hockey.
Good on ye.
Good on hockey.
Good on
Heck
ye.
yeah, man.
And what's better than Shaq running around the studio with a catfish full of beer?
They cut a check for that. Like, they got paid for that show for Shaq to throw a catfish full of beer at Charles Barkley.
Fantastic.
That's the way it works.
Fantastic.
By the way, the most hockey thing ever is in the game notes. Sharks forward Jonas Donskey, lower body. That out. He has a lower body injury, which probably means it's a shoulder.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Knowing the way it is, he had a lower body injury, which means it was a finger.
Off the top.
All right, we continue off the top, and this is a rough bit of news for a team that's off to a rough start in the Major League Baseball season. Dodgers shortstop Corey Seager going to miss the rest of the season after undergoing Tommy John surgery. He's going to undergo Tommy John surgery to fix a sprained ligament in his right arm.
Yeah, team sitting 4 games under 500, second to last in their division, 8 back from the Diamondback. This is one of those situations, Mike. I wonder, you listen to Corey talk about it. He said it felt good before the season, during spring training, and at the beginning of the season. Everything felt fine. Then last weekend, he started making a couple of throws, and he started getting numbness in there and soreness in there. And as an athlete, you know your body better than anybody. And he kept saying, I was hoping it was inflammation. But you got to wonder in the back of his mind if he knew there was something more. And it's one of those things that you just want to go away. You just hope it's not. It's like when you hurt an ankle or you hurt a knee and if you feel you got hurt and you get up and you start walking on a thing, oh, it's not hurt that bad. It's not hurt that bad. Then you realize you got a blown out ligament or something like that. You just wonder what was in his mind when he was hoping it was inflammation, but it turned out to be the ulnar collateral ligament that he now is going to have to get.
Ulnar collateral ligament. Nicely done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where I think you're trying to put it out of your own mind because especially this early in the season, we saw this with Schwarber and we talk about it all the time, just the difficulty mentally of overcoming. Man, I just got started.
Yep.
I convinced myself I felt so good, but it's also the difference between the preseason early on and getting into actual gameplay where all of a sudden you've ramped up the intensity to the point where you could push something like that to the point where all of a sudden it flames up. So a tough blow for them, as you mentioned. That season kind of at a crossroads early for the Dodgers right now, who had Kershaw struggle, and now on top of that, this.
Mike Sr. and I asked the same question. How often does a position player get a Tommy John surgery? Basically 1 in every 10 Tommy John surgeries is a position player.
That's actually more than I thought.
I was surprised by that. Yeah. So 10% basically of Tommy John surgeries are indeed position players. We always associate that obviously with pitchers because Tommy John was a pitcher. But again, so Corey Seager and the Dodgers continue to struggle out of the gate. You know who's not struggling?
Who's that?
That would be the Boston Celtics. Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. Small business protection just got easier. With more than 30 coverage options available, Progressive has you covered. More at progressivecommercial.com. So, I think we were all in on the fact that the Sixers look like they're pretty strong going into this thing. I think we're all underestimating what the Celtics have done this entire season. They lose Gordon Hayward game one. Then they lose Kyrie Irving down the stretch, and Brad Stevens and the Celtics seem to say, so it doesn't matter. Jaylen Brown's out with the hamstring, so it doesn't matter. They continue to do whatever it is they want to do. Sixers head coach Brett Brown was asked afterwards if the time off, rust, played a factor in the loss.
I mean, I don't know. Like we've won 20 out of 21 games. The Celtics, we give them credit. I never felt we were in the game. I never really felt it was a game. We had that little tiny run at the end of the third period, and, we created a turnover. JJ hit a 3. I think it might have cut it to 9. But I give the Celtics credit. I don't know if the time off hurt us. It sure felt like we were playing a good team today.
Well, they just never got into any sort of rhythm.
Well,
right? I watch this every once in a while.
Yeah.
I leave and come back, and it's like, they cut it to 9. It's 14 again.
You waited for that. You saw Boston go on that run toward the end of the half and take an 11-point lead at halftime. Then you're waiting for the 76ers to get that run going, and you thought, okay, they're going to do it. As you heard Coach say, cut it down to 9. Okay, can they get it down lower? They're going to make that. And every time they did, and Boston dropped a 3. 17 of 35, just over 48% from three-point land, where the 76ers made 5. Rozier made more threes at 7 than as a team Philadelphia did in 5. They did a great job on defense, clogging the lane for Ben Simmons, kicking the ball out, taking those threes, and just flat out missing them. They had more than a few guys going 0 from three-point land.
It was bad.
So while you credit the Boston offense for what they've done, you got to give a lot of credit to their defense as well.
Yeah, you definitely give credit to the defense. So this is what it boils down to with me, because you're right. There were a bunch of mini runs built in there, especially in the third quarter for the Sixers. You still saw flashes of certain things based on the game one read, because we've gotten a sample of some of these series now. We've seen blowouts really in the start of a few of these series, most of them in the Western Conference, but now here in the East. Do you guys, what you saw last night, still have faith in the 76ers? Would you still pick them to win this series?
Man, I want to keep underselling the Celtics because I think the Sixers are a better team, but the Celtics keep getting it done. I'll say yes. I'll say I still will trust that the 76ers are going to win this series, and Al Horford will keep making and proving me wrong, and Rozier will hit another 3 to prove me wrong, but I am going to say the Sixers still win it.
I think by talent, I think you have to look at the Sixers as saying they're a more talented squad right now, but I'm beginning to think that this Celtics team just knows how to play, and Brad Stevens is doing such a great job, and plus they have the ultimate troller, by the way, right now, in Terry Rozier, who showed up before the game wearing the Drew Bledsoe jersey. Of course, that going back to when he called Eric Bledsoe, Drew Bledsoe post-game, and then Eric Bledsoe infamously said,
I don't even know that is.
When asked about Terry Rozier, you know who he is.
Yeah, you know
exactly who he is. By the way, Drew Bledsoe tweeted about Terry Rozier wearing the Drew Bledsoe jersey. So this has all become a thing. Look, it's hard. The Celtics just, whatever is thrown their way, they don't seem to matter. I mean, that's the ultimate sort of compliment of a championship team. Like, whatever it is, they're losing all their best players and they still find a way to win. Yeah. That's the most impressive thing you can be in team sports, right?
I mean, and now you spin that forward, that could be the most dangerous team in pro basketball next season. When you get all of these young guys, this meaningful experience, used to being the alphas, and then you bring back your two best players on the roster, yikes.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Again, Jaylen Brown didn't play with the hamstring. Your two best guys are. Understand, they had three guys over 25 points in Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Terry Rozier. Do you know the last three that did that for the Celtics?
Hit me.
Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish.
Were they any good?
I mean, seriously.
Decent.
Back in 1987. That's ridiculous what these guys are doing.
That's crazy. Look, it's hard for me to go against the Celtics at this point just because they keep proving you that they're, we thought I don't know, man.
Are you taking them?
Well, no, I'm going to stick with the Sixers
there we
now.
go. That's what I needed to
We just
hear.
got to prod him along, don't we?
You know what? It's just like, I understand because it's a lot to wrestle with right now, but at the end of the day, we need picks.
How about you? Who did you pick going into it?
Sixers.
And you're staying with them?
Sticking with the Sixers.
Yeah.
I saw enough last night. They're not going to shoot 19% from three.
I agree. I agree. Awful 3-point
I just think
display.
we've all been underselling Boston this entire postseason run. And we had Brad Stevens on, talked about that at the end of the regular season. They've done a great job, and we'll see what happens. Look, critical game 2 now for Philadelphia. No question about it. Hey, I'm going to ask you guys a question.
Okay.
Do you ever feel underappreciated at work?
Every day.
Every day, right? Mm-hmm. Every day. And just so you know, you're not alone. Some of the guys that live on the mountaintop, they also feel that way. You'll hear from one of them next.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Here's a little insider travel secret. There are tons of empty hotel rooms out there just waiting to be booked. That's why there's Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them fill their unsold rooms, which means you get incredible deals. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book up to a week in advance and up to 100 days in advance in top destinations. So download the Hotel Tonight app to start scoring better deals at better hotels now.
You know how great the world would be if you could actually collect the bill for raising the kids?
With interest?
With interest, they'd never be able to pay it back.
Speaking of which,
never.
Congrats to my son Jake and his wife Jenny. Bought their first home.
There you go.
And as my wife tweeted out, welcome to a 30-year mortgage.
Yeah, it's you
holy smokes.
Look at that balloon payment and like, whoa.
The smile on their faces holding the sign that said sold, as I said, was a smile that reminded them of childhood when they had no responsibilities.
Yeah, now they have all the responsibilities.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We'll get into this a little bit later, but have you seen this reliever, Josh Hader, for the Brewers?
Yeah, what a game he had.
Forget
what a relief
that.
Appearance he
the
had.
hair is unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I mean, if he didn't exist, we'd have to create him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. This is dude. He's the dude, man.
Some nice lettuce.
It is
solid
a
flow.
solid
Does
flow.
that bum you out? Seeing guys with good lettuce?
Why you got to go there?
Well, I'm just asking. I mean, listen.
We got a big lefty throwing heat.
All right.
Talking about his great hair. Why do you got to bring it back to me? It's about him. Why are you taking the shine away from him?
8 batters faced, 8 strikeouts, and that hair flowing everywhere,
Fanning him.
right?
It's just, it's what he did was unbelievable.
Sorry, did walk a guy. My bad. Yeah. Boy, he stinks.
How terrible, right?
It's a great story to touch on. I'm also going to get everybody caught up on Dancing with the Stars.
It's all the athletes.
All athletes. Yeah. All athletes.
So it is technically sports.
And it is sports, and it all goes for only 4 weeks.
Plus it's on ABC, cross-promotion.
I'm going to tell you who the winner is going to be after watching last night.
Really?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that. You already projecting just the winner from last night or all the way down the line?
All the way down the line.
You're already all in.
I'm all in. Well, at least I'll have it down to 2.
There you go.
And I'll go ahead and pick a winner.
Okay. There we go. It is time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So, as Mike Golic Sr. astutely pointed out when he said there was a 0% chance that Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and Bill Belichick would not be back for the 2018 season. We are all in on all of this now.
Yes, we are.
He made the announcement last week that he's coming back. And Tom Brady, had a little more to say about
he
things.
did.
He was speaking at the Milken Institute Global Conference in California.
Oh, I spoke at that one.
Sure.
time.
Did you?
Milking it.
Okay.
No.
And he was asked by Jim Gray. Wow. Of course, it was Jim Gray a couple of years ago who had an interview with him, I think, on the campus of Keene State in New Hampshire.
Remember, he helicoptered
in there, asking him about, the deflate gates and thing, all that does this take away? And he's like, absolutely not, blah, 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 blah. Well, we've talked about the friction that has clearly been there. That's indisputable at this point, between Gronk, Belichick, Brady, and owner Robert Kraft. It's there. They've all admitted it. Tom was asked by Jim Gray if he's appreciated at work.
Do you feel appreciated by them, and do they have the appropriate gratitude for what you have achieved?
I plead the fifth.
I mean,
sounded like therapy.
Yeah, it did. Well, it gets better. It gets better because, obviously he doesn't feel appreciated the way he thinks he should be. This is something that we've heard, from Gronkowski, from other things. Look, again, you guys are good together because you're all in this together with Belichick, with Brady, with Gronkowski. But the idea that somehow you think because you're 40 and you've won 5 Super Bowls that Belichick's going to change the way he's done it, I think that's just a fool's errand.
No,
right?
it is. And to think that every superstar out there, whoever played in the league, had a great relationship with their coach or, was all, singing Kumbaya, I think is a ridiculous notion as well, especially going back in the day a little bit when you had the Bill Parcells of the world, some of these tough coaches that were out there. They coach their way, and it can be a hard way. And as we know, Mike, there's a pecking order. Some players are treated way better than other players. But, yeah, I'm getting I just think this is one of those situations where these guys are around a long time, especially Brady and Belichick, and they're at their end. It's coming to an end, but they understand the greater good is the goal of what we're all doing, whether you're coaching, whether you're quarterbacking, whether you're the tight end, whatever part of that team you are, the goal is to win the championship of that particular sport. And they know that their best chance is to be together. Doesn't always mean they like one another or get along all the time. That is true in every single locker room there is.
Yeah, they've worked it out.
Yeah.
At this point, they've got a handle on it. That's what I took away from all this Tom Brady stuff is we can put this to bed for this season.
Yep.
They're in football mode now. They're doing what they all know how to do, which is get in there, work, and go about business as usual. That friction will probably come to a head again at some point because the one thing I'll say in all this is we keep falling back on this idea the Bill's going to coach his way because his way works.
Yeah. Like no one ever. Like no one's ever.
I understand that, but if anyone's got a right to push back, it's Tom, because as great a coach as Bill is, and I think people wrongly use the Browns' years against them without knowing. They look at the record and they don't see the job that Bill was actually doing there before things got turned upside down. He was a great coach, but Bill Belichick does not have the clout that comes along with being able to say all these things without Tom. So if anyone's got the right to push back on it, it is Tom.
Because it is the great question, is Bill winning all these championships without Tom, and is Tom winning all these championships without Bill?
No, the answer is no for both of them.
They may butt heads some, but they need each other like nobody's business.
That's exactly right. And because of this, and probably, let's be honest about it, because of this tension is one of the reasons it's successful. Because if you don't feel appreciated, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, screw you. I'm going to work harder to show you how much you should appreciate me. And both sides should understand that. It's that dynamic that actually makes the damn thing work.
Yeah, but they're human. They have egos. Yeah. So, that's kind of how
most importantly, Tom then says he does get his appreciation from other places.
I think everybody in general wants to be appreciated more at work, in their professional life. But there's a lot of people that appreciate me more than, way more than I ever thought, was possible as part of my life. So
you take it from them?
Well, I think it's, you have different influences in your life. And I think the people that I work with are trying to get the best out of me. So they're trying to treat me in a way that they feel is going to get the best out of me. And, I've got to get the best out of myself. I think what I'm learning as you get older is it comes from within. The joy, the happiness, those things come from inside. And, to seek that from others, to seek that from outside influences, people you work with, people that cheer against you or cheer with you, or, I feel like it comes from within for me. So I'm trying to build up what's within me so that I can be the best for me, so that I can be the best for other people.
And I think that sums up Brady in a nutshell. because this is a guy who, to this day, 8 Super Bowl appearances, 5 Super Bowl rings later, all the records in the world, all the accolades, still carries a boulder on his shoulder that says 6th round, 199th selection, 2000 NFL draft.
And I think what else this shows is this is a business. At the end of the day,
it's a business, man.
This is a business. You know who cares the most about Tom? Tom's family. Tom, I'm appreciated more at home by my wife than anybody here appreciates me, and I understand
you'd like
that.
To think so.
At least I hope so. But you like to be acknowledged and appreciated for your work if it's going well. I get it, but and it's nice to hear. But at the end of the day, you realize, you know what? Tom has the accolades he has. Bill has the accolades he has. It's a business going forward. Tom gets treated better than just about anybody out there, but Bill is a tough coach. We get that. And so work is business, and that's where they're at. And they're in the business of winning Super Bowls. And just what you said, Mike, and you're right. They're back, and I said it as well. As soon as they all get back in the building, they go. Saying autopilot is probably the wrong way to go, but they're back in their wheelhouse. This is what they do. Tom knows what to do to get ready for the season. Bill knows what to do to get ready for a season. Gronk knows, Gronk's out there doing his thing, but you know what? He's ready for a season. They all get back into their wheelhouse of how it all works to try and win another title.
Nothing to add there, Junior? Silence again?
No, I thought we were up against it. I thought we were clock integrity. It's the thing I believe in.
Wow, it's something this show has not really believed in at all.
I know.
We're trying to do a new thing.
Trying to help you guys out.
At the end of the day, they both need each other, and hopefully we can just move beyond this. I mean, I still think that Tom is a little upset that what Belichick said about his cut hands. It's not like it was open heart surgery, and Brady's probably like, dude, my thumb almost fell off.
Yeah.
But then again, that's what gets him going, and Bill knows it. And so he knows all the buttons to push.
Some almost fell off?
And that was Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk. Yeah, it almost fell right off. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. In fact, it did fall off.
And they put it back on.
With that frog tape.
There you go.
Really good stuff.
Boom.
Really good stuff. Okay, I weep for this because I have no idea what's going to happen, but Mike Golic has a flux capacitor, apparently, and he's going to predict the future. Ladies and gentlemen, be very afraid. We'll get to that after this.
Word from Pennzoil. You tried. It's May.
I just wanted to say, don't tell Rhonda.
What are
trying
you
to get
doing?
a Ronda Rousey joke in there. There was no room.
Doing?
Could have gave me a heads up or something.
Junior,
like
Junior,
no one tells me any of these plans.
Junior, clock integrity.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie, this does look fun. You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It's Golic and Wingo.
So there is a possibility that you could go back in time?
There's a possibility that I could go back in time? That's your question to me?
Go back in time and fight. Go back in the octagon.
I do not have the ability to go back in time, no.
It gets better every time we hear it.
Really does. The more I listen to it, the more I'm just like, oh, yes, I did ask poorly, but my God, really.
I got to say, the payoff was still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the hill she chose to go down.
I guess.
Yeah. That was what it was.
Yeah.
All right. So we are with you, Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News. And Mike has a read.
Oh, yeah. I do.
Yeah.
Don't
I was waiting, and he just never took it, so I figured it wasn't
Professionals out here this morning.
We're also not good at radio, by the way.
Sports Center brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. If you shower, brush your teeth, or try to make your hair look presentable, Dollar Shave Club has everything you need to look, feel, and smell your best. And they will deliver it to you. Try the club today. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/Golic.
So, as we found out with our wonderful interview with Ronda Rousey, we can't go back in time, but we are going ahead in time. Mike Golic Sr. You're a reality TV kind of junkie.
I do.
You really are.
Well, some of them. Some I don't, but some I do like.
But you like to go down that road.
Yeah.
Okay. When one of those things you like is Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, I will check it out and see if I'm going to get into the season. Yes.
Okay, and this season it's all athletes.
All athletes. It's just a 4-week. It's not the normal.
It's a sprint.
It's a sprint. There you go. Well done.
It's a 4-week athlete 3-syllable word sprint. And you watched the first episode last night on ABC.
I did, flipping back and forth between that and the game. Yeah.
And you have already decided who's going to win.
I have. First, who was out last night was Jamie Anderson. She won a couple of gold medals as a snowboarder in the Olympics. And also out last night, won Johnny Damon.
Oh, Johnny.
Yep. They eliminated 2 last night. You know what was in it that will be eliminated very soon, but watching this man dance at 7'2" is something else. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Okay, do you remember he was in a Bruce Lee movie years ago?
Oh, yeah, he fought Bruce Lee.
Yeah, he fought Bruce Lee at 7'2". I thought that was impressive.
Yeah, so he's probably next as far as going to be out pretty soon.
Okay.
The young lady, Arike from Notre Dame, who she's the first collegiate athlete to dance in Dancing with the Stars. Again, it's all athletes. She did pretty well. She did okay.
Managed to let her go out there in sneakers instead of heels.
They wanted her to wear heels. She's more comfortable in sneakers. And all the judges basically said, put heels on next time. You're going to need them.
Oh, you know what? Then the judges just need to chill out.
Okay.
Well, all right? They figure the ball's in their court now.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
But for her to be at her best, she needs to be comfortable.
No, but they're saying if she wants any shot in this competition.
Arike, you do you. Don't worry about them.
Then she's going to lose.
You do you.
Chris Masder, boy, you're really into this. Chris Masder is a loser in the Olympics. He was pretty good.
To be clear, a loser, not a loser.
Not a loser, a
loser.
Not yet.
He's a loser.
Jenny Finch is in this also.
Softball.
She was okay. And then Tanya Harding also in it. She barely made it out. She'll be gone pretty soon. Then you're going to get down to the final 3. The final 3 are going to be Mirai Nagasu, the figure skater in the Olympics. Yeah. Remember, we got on her a little bit because in her final skate, she was thinking about Dancing with the Stars.
Correct. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Huge legend.
She did pretty well. Adam Rapon, the figure skater,
yes,
he was really good.
Zero surprise.
He was really good, but you know who I think is going to win it? Yet another football player.
Josh Norman?
Josh Norman.
Wow.
Was fantastic.
Okay, now I have to say, didn't see a second of it, so I need you to explain to me what made Josh Norman
moves well,
so good.
Great personality. As we know, he's got a great personality, right? Moves well. You know, everybody's nervous their first dance. He just let it go. He and Rapon were the 2. They're going to be the last 2 standing without question.
So to use Todd McShay verbiage, because I'm still in my draft.
Fluid hips.
No hip tightness with Josh Norman.
Very fluid hips, very quick feet. Very fluid all the way around. Yeah. Good chemistry with his partner as well.
He's fast and quick.
Fast and quick.
Yeah.
Yep. Showed good
lateral movement.
Started out the dance by jumping over the top of her. So
vertical, solid.
Had it all.
Did he have to bench his partner at any time?
He did not, but lifting is very easy for him.
Yes.
And you know, football players have done well. Emmitt Smith, Hines Ward, Donald Driver, Rashad Jennings, I believe, as well. And there have been a ton of football players in it. He was fantastic. He really was. So
that's interesting because you'd think with 2 figure skaters that they would have huge advantage.
Listen, Adam Rapon was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, he was right out of the gate. He looked like close to one of the pros.
But you still think that it's going to be Josh over Adam?
I think those 2 guys are going to. I think Adam might be a little bit better dancer, but I think everything that goes along with Josh Norman, the personality and moves really well, and the chemistry, I think is going to win out overall.
The judges said when they were grading Arike, they said part of this is your ability to draw people in and make them want to dance with you.
You did it with
and
Josh.
That seems like Josh's calling card. Never any shortage of that.
So
in his
essentially,
game.
the key to winning is you want to dance with somebody, you want to feel the heat with somebody.
There you go.
Correct.
There you
with
have
somebody who.
Well done. By the way, later on we'll clip this off and then we'll get Ronda Rousey to go back in time with us and see if your prediction was true.
Hey now,
coming up, the first defender of a rookie QB will have to face maybe in his own locker room.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie, this does look fun. Whee-oh, you melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15%.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Golic and Wingo with you on a Tuesday morning. Glad you're with us. ESPN Radio, ESPN News, ESPN app, however you are consuming us. We are happy that we are being consumed. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We got a great slate of guests coming up today. A little bit later on, in just a few minutes, Lorenzo Alexander of the Buffalo Bills will join us to talk about the pick of Josh Allen. The Bills traded up to get their quarterback, traded up to 7th overall to do that. Carol Lawson will join us as well. Saquon Barkley will join us. And Michael Kay from the Michael Kay Show, 98.7 ESPN New York, will also be by. Lots to get to. Of course, we're in the midst of the NBA playoffs, and baseball is finally getting into full swing, and we're getting the first sort of decent sample size of what may or may not be playing out throughout the end of the rest of the regular season. So, those first 2 weeks of the baseball season, you get these weird statistical anomalies and oddities. Right. You're like, well, you project that over, blah, 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 it'll hit 4,000 home runs this year. But things tend to even out right about now, and you sort of settle in for what will be the long haul in the baseball season.
I think one of the interesting stats coming out is this past month, there were more strikeouts than hits.
How about that?
I mean,
I do have to believe that's partially because of the weather.
Right.
I mean, look, it was a brutal spring almost everywhere. I mean, it snowed, 2 feet late April in
it was
Wisconsin.
the first time ever. I mean, and there has been bad weather that has started other seasons before. Yeah. So, and remember last year we talked about the strikeout or the home run, that we have seen more strikeouts because guys are trying to go yard more than any other time. And we wondered if that would kind of even back out. And certainly this last month it didn't. A lot of strikeouts. Stanton certainly, getting his fair share. And obviously that gets the spotlight on him for being the NL MVP and coming over to the Yankees in the big spotlight. And he has the second most strikeouts in the American League. Struck out 3 times last night. Has 43. But yeah, a bad month. A lot of guys, either way, walking back to the dugout, whether it's a swing or taking it, and a lot of strikeouts. So I'll be interested. We start talking to our baseball people of what the thought process or why that may be happening.
Yeah, look, it was 296 fewer hits than strikeouts, which is just weird. The last year, it was close, but there were 138 more hits than strikeouts. So that's a swing of about 400 plus something. The other way. So the weather, I think, has to play a part of that. We'll see going forward how much that actually does impact. Like, I'd be curious to see where that stat is, like middle of June. Whether it levels off a little bit because the temperature's getting a little warmer. So we'll have our fine researcher Brett get on that, because Brett would like to share things with us at all times.
Sure would, as long as he can come on air to do it.
Exactly, as long as he can talk about it. When he's not coming back from a wedding. Right. I swear to God, I don't know a guy ever that goes to more weddings than our researcher Brett.
Good for him. So you can buy a lot of gifts.
You know what it is? Maybe he's the one that plots all the points for these relationships, because he gathers data and decides whether or not these two will be compatible.
That's a stretch.
Probably not. Yeah. Let's just get going with what's trending. And what's trending right now is that the Celtics, whatever it takes, baby. I mean, that's the Cavs slogan, but if you think about it, it's really what the Celtics have done all year long. Gordon Hayward, no problem. Kyrie Irving, no problem. Jaylen Brown, no problem. They just keep doing it. They beat the 76ers by 16 in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Semis.
Who would have thought that Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Terry Rozier would be the big three? But they all scored over 25 points for the first time since Game 5 of the 85 semis. And the three that did it then were Bird, McHale, and Parrish.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, that just blows my mind. But, hey, they just keep getting it done. Now, Philadelphia only hit 5 of their 26 threes, just 19%. It's one of those, again, kind of like with Cleveland in Game 1 against the Pacers. You said they can't keep shooting that bad. Yeah. But you have to credit that Boston defense a lot. If you take the pain away from a guy like Ben Simmons and they try and shoot a little more outside and they're not hitting them. They had three players going, actually 4 players going over from three-point land. So, tip of the cap more, obviously, to Boston. You lose players, and it doesn't seem to trip them up at all.
Brad Stevens has done a great job with this team
really
all
has.
Season long.
So, Philly, you try and get that split. You try and get that one in Boston. We both picked Philly. My son did as well, and we all still think Philly is going to win this, but Boston just, man, I'm amazed. I'm not going to lie. I am amazed at what they've been able to do losing the players they have.
Look, got to give them all the credit. They're going full journey. Don't stop believing.
There you
That's
go.
where they are. The Celtics win over the Sixers is what everybody's talking about. Brought to you by Lowe's. Pros in the know start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers face the Raptors tonight at 8 Eastern. LeBron James 2-11 in his career in Game 1s on the road. However, his teams have won 6 straight games against the Raptors in the postseason.
Yeah, also the Raptors are 2-12 all time in Game 1. So
something's got to give.
Not much better there. And I think what's going to give is the Cavaliers. I don't see them winning this game. I just don't. And somebody tweeted to me and said, "Wait a minute, the Celtics, have gone the distance. And we're not talking about them being tired. And they win their first game." I said the biggest difference is the Cavaliers are relying on one guy.
The Celtics have other players.
The Celtics are spreading the wealth, and I mean that as a feather in their cap.
Yes, absolutely.
To be able to do it, even with losing guys with an injury. But that's a difference of everything being on one guy, and he has to do everything on the court. Again, nobody scored more than 20 points of his teammates in that last series. It was incredible. Ridiculous. Yeah. If the Toronto Raptors get a lead tonight, I see Cleveland trying to make a run to get back, and if they can, I see them saying, "Okay, we'll see you in Game 2. All we need is a split here."
We'll concede because we know this may go 7. If the Raptors don't win tonight, they may never beat the Cavs in the postseason. And then we may get Steph Curry back tonight. Having not played since March 23rd with that grade 2 MCL sprain, he's listed as probable for Game 2 tonight against the Pelicans. The Warriors, of course, won Game 1.
So there are those that will say, if you don't need him, why bring him back? You want to bring him back to get him some minutes out there. I would say to knock off the rust, but you look at other times he's come back from injury. He hasn't needed any rust getting knocked off. Came back May 9, 2016 from an MCL, dropped 40. December 30, 2017, missed 11 games on an ankle, dropped 38. So the guy doesn't have a whole lot of rust when he comes back. But I think just to get him back on the court, get him running, get him in game action, I think would be a good thing as long as he's ready to go. And I still think they're the absolute favorite in the West.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And hopefully Steph Curry, when he comes back, will be full go, ready to go. Because you want to see the best at their best.
You do.
And look, what Anthony Davis has been doing with the Pelicans, he's been at his best, no question. So that would be very cool. We'll see if Steph plays tonight.
With the 7th pick, the Buffalo Bills select Josh Allen, quarterback, Wyoming.
There were some tweets that were already deleted. Somebody knew what they were doing, but, success is the best revenge. And, getting in with my teammates, earning my coach's respect, earning my teammates' respect. And like I said, trying to be the best teammate possible is what I'm going to do.
I definitely anticipate Josh Allen being in the mix to be the early starter. By all means, Josh Allen is the guy that they are very clearly looking at as the future of this franchise.
All right, we continue here on Golic and Wingo. That was one of the big stories of the draft over the weekend. Josh Allen falling to 7. Part of that may or may not have been some tweets that were released right before the draft that were when he was 14 and 15 years old, where he used some racially inappropriate language. And Bills linebacker Lorenzo Alexander, who was curious about those tweets, for lack of a better term, and as he should be, joins us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Lorenzo, first and foremost, thanks for being with us. We appreciate you getting up early this morning.
No worries.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you had some questions about this when Josh Allen was drafted. Have you had a chance to speak to Josh yet?
No, I haven't had a chance to speak to him yet. Obviously, it was a whirlwind for him. Him and his family were enjoying that moment. Obviously, they were up here quick to meet the coaching staff and the organization, just to see Buffalo. But I didn't really have any questions, like I was calling Josh or anything out.
Right.
Before he was drafted, they brought it up to us that, this is some things that we had found out. It just got leaked. And my first question and my first response, well, since you've been vetting him, have you heard anything about that? Why would you be on the kid like this? He's like, no. And then we have a guy named Eddie Yarbrough that played here as well with Wyoming, asked him about his character, that he loved the guy, respected him. So for me, it was like, well, there's no issue for me. I'll welcome him in with open arms, extend some grace, and encourage my teammates to do the same, because I'm not going to judge a guy character based on something he did when he was 15. I remember when I was 15, young and dumb and stupid. Fortunately, I didn't have Twitter or social media to post it on. So a lot of my stuff can stay in the past, and nobody can bring it up because they can, obviously photo screen it or tape it or whatnot and bring it up when it's at your biggest moment. So me and Josh are good. I texted him. He texted back. And so I look forward to bringing him in and seeing how he works and him playing for us and helping us win some games next year.
Well, let me tell you, you speak for a whole generation when you talk about that. We're a little older than you, Lorenzo, but every once in a while, Mike and I will look in the mirror and say, boy, thank goodness social media wasn't around when we were idiots.
Yeah, the past stay in the past. And unfortunately for some of these guys today, it doesn't do that. In your mind, will Josh need to address the team or players individually, or how do you see that playing out, if at all?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I know he's mentioned about, obviously filling out the team in the room. And I know him and Sean and Derek Volker will kind of get together and kind of figure out what the best way to do it. If it was me, maybe you do it in the beginning because you don't want it to linger. You just want to kind of deal with it and then move on, and then as guys get to know you or maybe have additional questions, maybe they approach you, on the side and kind of ask you just so that they feel comfortable, with you as well. But I think, with the state of our country, I think it's a great time to have these discussions and having an honest discussion about, why did you use those words, what it meant, what changed your mind, how did you mature, once you got to Wyoming, did somebody pull you aside? Because obviously for him to tweet that, no matter what it was, I don't think he understood the validity of the power of those words. I don't use those words, but at some point, somebody said, hey, this is not how we speak, this is not what you should be doing, and that he understood the power of using those words in that manner and hasn't done since. So that's what I kind of look forward to, and hopefully that comes out of those conversations that we have in our locker room.
Yeah, and we'll see how that plays out going forward. Lorenzo Alexander with us, Bills linebacker, two-time Pro Bowler. By the way, a certified Pilates instructor. I want to get to that a little bit.
How about that?
Because that I'm actually very curious about. But this is an interesting time in Buffalo, Lorenzo. You guys finally ended the longest playoff drought, active playoff drought in NFL history last season. You were in that game all the way with Jacksonville. Not only do you draft Josh Allen to be the quarterback of the future, but you also get the linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. Listen, this is a young dude, man, who is out there and ready to make a lot of plays. What is the optimism level like in Buffalo this year heading into the 2018 season after really being on the downside for so many years?
Yeah, well, we just want to continue to build. Obviously we want to go further in the playoffs and win a championship, and that's every team's goal each and every single year. And right now, that's why the offseason is so important, and obviously adding young talent to the group and making our roster and team better from top down. And right now we're laying the foundation so that when these young men come in, they can be added to it. And then once we get to training camp, start really forging our team so that we can have a great product on the field on Sundays and playing smart, fast, physical football and getting after guys. And, honestly, we got to be able to, beat teams like New England in our division, which we haven't been able to do consistently. If we ever want to get to that point to where we kind of control our own destiny with some of that home field advantage, which makes it easier to play, especially people coming up to Buffalo in January and February to play playoff games.
Well, Lorenzo, you've been in this league since 2007, came in with Washington, played your first, 6 years in the league, I believe there. So in the game overall, a couple of general questions. We see the direction that this game is going, and I want to get into the possibility of some of the rule changes that will affect you guys on the field first. But how about the kickoff? We saw the NCAA already change their rule to fair catch inside the 25. You get it on the 25. A lot of people think that the kickoff may be on its way out. You're a guy that certainly has played your fair share of special teams in this league. What are your thoughts on the kickoff potentially being out of the NFL?
I think it would be a mistake if we did remove it from the game. I think there are so many other things that we can do before we even get to that extreme. I understand that the NFL and I think players and coaches of the like are trying to make the game safer. And I think there's some very creative ideas that I've heard out there. I actually posted something on Twitter yesterday, just mentioning, one or two of them. I mean, just reconfiguring, the front lines. Maybe the guys are a lot closer to where you almost turn it into more of a punt kind of layout and feel versus these big collisions where I'm running 40 yards and the guy is set up and I'm trying to run through him because the ball carries behind him.
So explain that. I don't want to interrupt. Explain that a little more. Right. Explain a couple of those things.
So imagine, and when I started first covering kickoffs, I was 295 pounds. So just imagine the guys right now probably I'm 5 yards off the ball on the 35, so I'm starting at the 30. Those guys are normally on the opposing 45, so it's a big distance between us. So those guys are sprinting back to like the opposite 20 to set up, and I'm running full speed trying to get to the ball carrier. And normally most of the time, by the time they set up and I'm running at full speed, there may be maybe 5 yards in between us. So at that point, if the ball carrier is right behind him, I'm at full tilt, he's planted, and 295, I'm putting my helmet in your chest. I mean that opens you up for a lot of injuries, myself and that player. So I understand why they're trying to change some of that, especially with the rise of concussions and CTE awareness. And so there's different ways. If you make that more into a punt style thing, now we're kind of running alongside each other, and you're more body blocking and, trying to press guys out and get positioned that way. You can kind of eliminate some of those high impact shots that some guys are taking, just sitting there trying to absorb and take a charge, which you're taught to do, and try to prevent the guy from making a tackle.
That's very, very interesting. Yeah. Lorenzo Alexander, linebacker for the Bills, joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. I really like that idea, and compared to the punt, I see exactly where you're going. How about overall the rule changes they're talking about with really throwing flags more of using the helmet, leading with the helmet in different situations? Do you have a full grasp yet of just what the league means by some of the penalties they're going to have?
No, not at all. Hopefully some more details and clarity comes out. I know the NFL is meeting not only with special teams coaches and players this week, but also I think overall to some of those rules and the one you just mentioned there. And, for me initially, it's like, okay, so how do I supposed to tackle a guy? Because football is inherently dangerous, inherently risky sport, and my head is at the top of my body. So me going in here and making a great form tackle the way you're taught, heads up, eyes up, tackle with your shoulder. If a running back makes or a receiver makes the slightest of movement to protect himself, to avoid you, and now we create helmet to helmet just out of the nature of playing the game. Right. You're going to throw a 15-yard penalty, and then we all know that who carries the onus. It's a defensive player, because I haven't called nothing on offensive players ever unless it's like an egregious crackback block. So that's why the rule is it's already hard enough to call the game. Now you're going to enforce that, and you're going to start hitting guys' pockets. So I just don't think a lot of the rules have been thought out. I think the intent is there, obviously to protect guys and make it safer, but you just can't throw stuff on the wall and hope it's going to stick. You need to bring in people that play the game, that know the game, that understand the game, and really take their input. Just don't have something in your mind already made up and just use that meeting or, conversation as cover. Like we talked about it, and you still end up doing what you had planned before that meeting even occurred.
Yeah, there has to be a little more of an in-depth there. Lorenzo Alexander with us, two-time Pro Bowler. As Mike said, you've been around for a while now, 34 years old, been in this league for a long time. Yet you're one of your newest teammates, we talked about Tremaine Edwards. He won't be 20 until tomorrow. He was the first teenager drafted in the league since Amobi Okoye, the defensive lineman, went to the Texans a few years ago. What does it feel like thinking, they just drafted a teenager and here you are all these years later in the league?
It's crazy. Hey, my daughter is graduating from the University of Arizona next week, and she'll be 22 this year. I tweeted him immediately. I said, "Hey, dude, when I meet you tomorrow, I'm not a coach, man. I'm your teammate." So, but it's good though. The locker room keeps you young. I enjoy mentoring. That's probably the best part of the game at this stage for me. It's really paying it forward because I had so many guys help me come up. London Fletcher being probably at the top of that list. And that's what I enjoy doing. I think that's how the game continues to grow as we pass down knowledge from generation to generation. And, Tremaine has a great family background, obviously his brother, but also his parents. His dad played in the league. His mom was a high-end elite, I think, hurdler as well. So he comes from a great family background. So I'm looking forward to being around him. The time I met him, coming across real mature, and he's going to be just fine. And we have a great coach, Bobby Babbage, who's one of you guys' biggest fans, by the way.
Oh, that's nice.
Who's going to get this guy coached up, and we'll be out there flying around. He's going to have some young energy, and it's going to help me as well. I like that. I obviously going to have that young vibe jumping around, and that just juices me up because I'm not going to let this young man outshine me.
There you go.
So people say, "Oh, well, you're 35." No, I'm about to look and say, "Man, who's 35? Who's 20?" I want to be able to make that comparison.
Well, listen, one of the things that probably keeps you that young, that going on 35, is that Pilates, right? When did you start doing that, and when did you realize this is important?
I probably started doing it probably in 2009, 2010 with Kedrick Golston, who's a teammate of mine up in Washington. He had started doing it first, and he had asked me. I was like, "Nah, that's for women, man. Men don't do that type of stuff." And I saw the fruits of his labors doing it, and said, "Well, let me try it." I had started changing positions, losing some weight during that time, and wanted to add something else to myself to help me out, and just connecting my core, to your big muscles, your powerhouse, flexibility, mobility. All those things allowed me, as I lost my weight, to kind of still keep my strength and my power. And it was just way more efficient and limited a lot of injuries. And so I think that has been a huge part in my longevity, now going into year 14. And I just continue to do it. I do it, 2 to 3 times in the off season, at least once a week during the season. And it's really just helped me supplement all the heavy, big power lifts that I do throughout the year.
Yeah, core strength and flexibility, man. Those are the 2 tenets of Gary Player, the golfer, who's 80-plus years old and still in great shape than most people. So you're on the right path. Hey, Lorenzo, we really appreciate you being with us, and thanks for sharing, obviously, what was a big part of the draft weekend and the story with Josh, and we look forward to seeing how it plays out going forward.
Great stuff, Lorenzo. Thanks.
I appreciate you guys.
All right, Lorenzo Alexander with us. And I think that's pretty
2
straightforward.
things. One, you always find a way to get golf into it by mentioning Gary Player. Number 2, this is a guy, again, 12th year in the league, 34 years old. When you start talking about players that should be included in conversations with the NFL.
These are the guys you should be talking to.
This is the type of guy you should be talking to, with ideas, with perspective on the league, and that was really fascinating. I loved his thought about kickoff. I want to think about that a little bit more, about how to change it up before you get rid of it, but really liked a lot of things he had to say.
Well, look, I actually read or listened to that thing he put on Twitter yesterday, and it was really interesting. And it brought a way to keep the traditions of the game in there, but understanding the need, obviously, for a guy that's been there as long as he has.
You have to evolve. When you learn things that can be that cause injuries, you have to evolve to try and square them away a little bit.
So we'll see what happens with him, and we'll see what happens with the kickoff, as well as the situation with Josh Allen going forward.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage. By Quicken Loans, chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Here's a little insider travel secret. There are tons of empty hotel rooms out there just waiting to be booked. That's why there's Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them fill their unsold rooms, which means you get incredible deals. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book up to a week in advance and up to 100 days in advance in top destinations. So download the Hotel Tonight app to start scoring better deals at better hotels now.
Golic and Wingo with you, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. And again, an unbelievable start to the Eastern Conference semis for the Boston Celtics. They win by 16, which makes me wonder, Mike, we both picked the Sixers in this series. Have we?
I've made a huge mistake.
Have we done that?
Have
we done that?
I mean, I'm staying with Philly right now, but you can do nothing but tip your cap to Brad Stevens, what they're doing. Who would have thought? The big 3 before the season was Gordon Hayward, Kyrie Irving, and Al Horford.
Yep.
Only one left now, and they still have a big 3 that all scored over 25. It was just incredible what they did, not just offensively, but defensively as well.
Well, clearly we don't know what we're talking about.
No, we don't.
Let's bring in someone who does. ESPN NBA analyst and all-around sports guru, Kara Lawson, who called the game last night with Adam Amin on ESPN Radio. Kara, what impressed you the most about what the Celtics were able to do in Game 1?
I thought that probably what impressed me the most was those 3 guys going off the way they did. I mean, I love some of the things they did defensively, but I think you look at the ability one-on-one with Rozier and Jason Tatum and what they've been able to do, guys that you thought going into the season wouldn't be heavily counted on, right, with Kyrie healthy and with Gordon healthy, and all of a sudden they've become feature players offensively and have carried the load. And that I thought was going to be the biggest challenge for Boston entering the series, is Philly is so explosive offensively. I mean, you watch them in their first-round series against Miami and you think, gosh, what's it going to take to slow these guys down? How is Boston going to match that offense? And let's not forget, Jaylen Brown didn't even play last night for the Boston Celtics, and he was terrific in their series against Milwaukee. He's turned himself into a great two-way player. So I just was really impressed with what they were able to do offensively, specifically those 2 guys.
Before anybody starts talking about X's and O's, adjustments on the court, can you legitimately say, well, there's no way that the 76ers shoot below 20% for threes, on a consistent basis in this? They're going to shoot better.
Yeah, this isn't rocket science, Golic, right? I mean, 5 for 26. I thought they got some clean looks, particularly in the first quarter. There is an element of, hey, it's pretty simple. Look at how much Boston outscored Philly from the three-point line. It's been such a strength of Philly, particularly in the playoffs. I mean, they had 2 games in the Miami series where they hit 18 threes. Got some clean looks last night, just didn't make them down. I mean, we're sitting there, and J.J. Redick's getting ready to check in the game with Joel Embiid, and he says to Joel Embiid, we can't hit anything. And they couldn't. They just couldn't hit anything last night, and that's a part of it. You have games like that.
Carol Lawson with us, ESPN NBA analyst, overall guru, basically, in sports. Law dog, as I call her all these years later. Okay, so, Kara, what is it about Brad Stevens that has made him sort of able to manage this squad? As we said, no Kyrie Irving down the stretch. They lost Gordon Hayward week 1. Jaylen Brown is out. What is it about this team that has made them so resilient?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. One, let's start with Danny Ainge and the roster that he's been able to put together. I mean, you have a lot of young guys that are multi-talented, that are versatile on the offensive end and defensive end. And then when you take Brad Stevens and his ability to coach these guys, to get them to focus, to get them to lock in, like I thought they were terrific last night in transition defense, walling off, loading up against Ben Simmons, and not letting him get into the lane, which is such a core piece to what Philly likes to do offensively. If they can get out and run, and he's such a big bully in transition and can get in the lane, they were so locked in and focused on not allowing that to happen. And so just the way they play together, how they execute, and how hard they play. I mean, I know we hear coaches and players say it all the time, we play hard, we play hard, we play hard. Those guys play hard every single possession, and there's tremendous buy-in, and so that's a direct reflection on the job and the trust that they have in Brad Stevens.
So outside of the fact that we just think Philadelphia will shoot better, especially from three-point land where they were outscored by 36 points there, what on the court, what X's and O-wise would you do a little differently if you were the 76ers?
Yeah, a lot. There's a ton of correctables. I thought they were awful in transition defense. I mean, just awful. Recognition, knowing where guys are, hustle, getting back defensively. They've got to get some more guys engaged on the offensive end. I thought Covington was a no-show last night offensively. He didn't have a field goal. He got to the line 3 times. There's a lot of ways that they can improve. They got to be better defensively, more locked in. I think they can impact Boston a little bit more. This is a team, Philly, that was a really good defensive team during the regular season, one of the best in the NBA, and you just didn't see them play with that type of force last night. So there's all of the things that they did wrong last night are correctable, and that's what's beautiful about a series is you have a chance to come back. I thought they showed a little bit of rust last night from having the long layoff. No excuses for that, but that's the way it is. The other thing is just ball movement. One of the things that I loved about Philly in the regular season is they passed the ball so well. Like, they led the NBA in passes per game. And last night, they were almost 50 under that total per game that they normally get. And so that part of that's a credit to Boston because they were able to make them more stagnant on the offensive end. But Philly's got to get the ball movement going, and when they do that, they're really hard to guard. So they're all correctables. I thought they showed a little rust, but there were some disappointing possessions, I would call it, where Boston just got some easy opportunities. A lot of those were followed by Brett Brown timeouts, so I'm sure there'll be a pretty long film session today for the Sixers.
Carol Lawson with us, our fine NBA analyst. All right, Kara, game 1 tonight, Cavs, Raptors. If not tonight, when will the Raptors ever beat the Cavs? I mean, it seems like it's all set up. LeBron says he's burnt. They went game 7. It's Toronto Raptors at home with rest, home court advantage in this series. I mean, they have to win tonight, right?
Listen, first of all, I don't think LeBron ever gets tired. So him saying that, I don't believe that at all. He was probably tired right then, but his regenerative powers are amazing.
Ooh, good phrase, regenerative powers. I like that, Law Dog. Very nice.
Thank you. But I think with Toronto, I mean, Toronto's been excellent. I got a chance to do all their 6 games in the first round, and I think them having Fred VanVleet back coming off the bench will really help them in this series because he brings so much poise and so much composure to their second unit, really productive, and gets guys excellent shots. This is a year. This is a year for Toronto to do it. If it's going to happen, I think, when you look at the strength of their team, how solid they've been all season long, and there are definitely some weaknesses you could point to for Cleveland. But the thing that I think Cleveland has to be really encouraged about, and this is the thing that I think a lot of times maybe even we forget because we're just looking at what's happened recently, right? What happened in the last round. Cleveland has so much experiential wisdom from having all of those long runs in the playoffs. And they have so many guys that have been in the fire and that have done it year after year after year playing to June. And that matters. Like, that matters in a Game 7 when Tristan Thompson knows, hey, I can go to the well because I've been here before and I've been able to do it. And that's such a valuable commodity as a player when you know you've been there and you're not trying to do it for the first time. You're not sitting there hoping that you have it inside of you, like you know it's there. And so that's the hard part about knocking out a team like Cleveland that's got a bunch of guys with a championship is they know they can get to a certain place and they know that they can win those games. And, that's the challenge for Toronto. I think this is going to be a fun series. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 7.
Again, from a matchup standpoint, we saw in Game 7 against the Pacers, Tristan Thompson gets his first start of the playoffs, plays 35 minutes, 15 points, 10 rebounds. How about in this series? You keep it the same way? Is he the starter? Is he getting a lot of minutes? How does he fit in the matchups?
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly ride the hot hand just because you look at how bouncy he played. You look at how many extra opportunities he gave you. Toronto comes with a good bit of size, particularly in the starting lineup with Ibaka and Valanciunas, and they've got size off the bench as well. Cleveland can play both ways. Big or small. Toronto can play both ways, big or small. But like I said, there's something special about guys that have been through it, and for Cleveland, that's got to be a welcome sign to have Tristan Thompson playing with the activity that he did in that Game 7 against Indiana.
Law Dog, always great to have you on. Listen, we're running out of time, so I don't have time for my Quiz Kara segment normally, but real quickly, your favorite pick in the draft, who was it?
Well, of course, Deron Payne for the Washington Redskins, because I'm a Redskins fan.
There you go. So, once again, going to the well. 4 Alabama players drafted by Washington over the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's him and Jonathan Allen on that deal.
Oh, my God. Carrie, you're the best, babe. We'll talk to you later, okay?
Thanks, Car.
All right, see you guys.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Golic and Wingo with you on a Tuesday morning. We all celebrate Mr. Irrelevant, right? The last pick of the draft, blah, 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 256, even though it's usually not that way because so many great undrafted players have gone to have great careers, and a lot of times Mr. Irrelevant goes on to have a decent situation in the NFL. Ryan Suckup was Mr. Irrelevant. He's still kicking in the NFL.
Right.
Gerald Christian, who was the brother of John Christian, who was the offensive lineman taken this year by Louisville, was Mr. Irrelevant a couple of years ago, and he's had a couple of touchdown passes and played in the NFL. But forget that.
Right.
Because by nature of being Mr. Irrelevant, you become relevant.
Yes, you do.
Right? So really, the second to last pick in the draft really becomes Mr. Irrelevant.
The penultimate pick.
Yeah, nicely done.
There you go.
The penultimate pick.
I agree, because Trey Quinn at 256 went to the Redskins, wide receiver from SMU, is Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah.
But he gets a parade, he gets a Rolex, he gets other gifts.
Right. Everyone knows who he is.
Everybody's name will be out there, so is that really Mr. Irrelevant?
No, it isn't.
Does anybody know who the second last pick of the draft was?
We do.
Yes, we do. And to us, that's Mr. Irrelevant.
And we are celebrating him. And that him is wideout Austin Proehl. Now, if that name sounds a little familiar, it should be. He was picked by the Bills with pick 255, but Austin Proehl is the son of Ricky Proehl. Ricky Proehl was a longtime wide receiver in the NFL, played with the Rams, the Panthers, among other teams. And the thing about Ricky Proehl you need to understand, he may have had 3 of the greatest touchdown catches in NFL playoff history, and nobody remembers most of them. One of them was the only touchdown game in the NFC Championship game between the Rams and the Bucs that sent the Rams back to their second Super Bowl which they lost to the Patriots 20-17. It was that one-handed catch down the sidelines in the 11-6 game. But unfortunately for Ricky, two of the greatest Super Bowl touchdown catches of all time were erased by a kicker.
Yeah, it was.
In Super Bowl, in that same year, Super Bowl 36, he caught the touchdown pass from Kurt Warner to tie the game at 17 against the Patriots, only to have Tom Brady and company march right down the field and have Adam Vinatieri kick the game winner. And then 2 years later, playing for the Carolina Panthers, he had the catch from Jake Delhomme to tie that Super Bowl at 29 in the late stages of the fourth quarter, only to have one more time Adam Vinatieri kick a field goal to win the game.
So that's his dad.
That's his dad.
That's a nice background of his dad.
So let's introduce you to Austin Proehl.
Austin Proehl, yes. Mr. Irrelevant. He's a wide receiver from North Carolina who missed 5.5 weeks this year because of a broken collarbone, only had 21 catches and 1 touchdown. He ran at a regional combine. He didn't go to the big combine. Ran at a regional combine, ran a 4.41 40-yard dash. That would have been third among wide receivers at the combine. He's 5'10", 175. He's a slot guy who basically the word is going to be he's a great route runner.
Yep.
So he's beyond his years because of what his father did, his father coaching him when he was younger, and just having that football knowledge to step in and at least have the mind of a veteran from the position. Certainly he's still a rookie. So we'll see what he's able to do. We'll see what he can do. But he is our Mr. Irrelevant.
Yes.
So we are going to send him gifts from our show.
Yes, we're going to send him a Golic and Wingo coffee mug, maybe a little bus.
A little bus and a Golic and Wingo shirt.
Absolutely.
As well. So we are going to make the true Mr. Irrelevant. We're going to make him relevant as well.
That's exactly right. Let us all celebrate Austin Proehl.
Exactly right.
He's got a chance. He's got an opportunity. Obviously, the bloodlines are there. Brandon Beane, the GM of the Carolina Panthers, has known this kid forever, obviously because of the connection through the Carolina Panthers and his dad. But the bottom line is we're making the point that Mr. Irrelevant, by celebrating his irrelevancy, is actually relevant.
Right.
So the real Mr. Irrelevant is the penultimate pick in the draft, 255, and now we're making him Mr. Irrelevant, thus making him relevant, which means next year the next to last pick.
Exactly right.
So we'll do this forever.
Golic and Wingo gift bag.
Exactly. We're going down the rabbit hole.
Yes, we are.
Eventually, 10 years from now, we'll get to the first pick of the 7th round will be the actual Mr. Irrelevant pick. Why are so many people convinced that taking the best available player in the draft was so wrong? We'll try and figure that out. Stay with us. Go, Austin.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot.